This is part 2 of our lesson on graphing exponential functions. In the first part, we discussed what h and k in our exponential formula do here, and we discovered that k moved our graph up and down, and the h moved it left and right. And we, at the end of the last video, just finished graphing y equals 2 to the x and y equals 2 to the power of x minus 4 plus 1. So we're going to move on and do the bottom two. So we have y equals 1/3 to the power of x, and y equals 1/3 to the power of x plus 6. And we're going to fill in those tables of values and then graph them as well. So 1/3 to the power of x, you'll notice that it has the same base as this one. So this is what we usually call the base function. It's just the base with the exponent, no transformations. And this is what we call the transformed function. So I'm going to start the way I always do at the bottom. I find that a little easier. And I'm going to do 1/3 to the power of 4. So to do 1/3 to the power of 4, I do 1 to the power of 4, which is 1, and 3 to the power of 4, which is 81. And I would like fraction. I don't want to see a decimal at this point. So 3, 1/3 to the 3, we're going to do 1 to the 3, which is 1, and 3 to the 3, which is 27. Okay, 1/3 squared. 1 squared is 1. 3 squared is 9. So I get 1 over 9. And then to the 1. So 1/3 to the 1. So 1 over 1. 1 to the 1 is 1, and 3 to the power of 1 is 3. Anything to the power of 0 is always 1. And then I hit those negative exponents. So the negative exponents, they make a fraction, they have a flipping over action. So I'm going to get pretty much the same answer I did when I did to the positive one, except it's going to flip. So when I flip 1 over 3, it becomes 3 over 1, or just 3. And then that negative 2, we look to the positive 2, it's 1 over 9. We flip that over to get 9 over 1, or positive 9. For the 3, we look at 3, we get 1 over 27, so I flip that over to get 27 over 1, or just 27. And then for the negative 4, same thing. We flip over 1 over 81 to get 81 over 1, or just 81. And that's my base. And then we're going to do our transformed. So I'm going to look at my transformations. I see that the base is the 1/3, right? It matches that part there. So I have a -5, and I also have a +6 going on in the bracket. So that -5 is our k value. It's going to move it up or down, and since it's negative, this is going down 5. And the inside the bracket, that's our k value. So since I have, it moves it left and right. So I've got a +6, so that's going to go left 6. So this is where I ask myself, what does it mean to go down 5? Does that change the x, or does that change the y? Well, it's moving it up and down, that's vertical, so it should change the y. And since we are going down 6, we are going to, down 5, we're going to subtract 5 from my y. And then for the x's, we're going left 6, so that's changing my x value since we're moving on the x-axis to the left. And we always do, the bracket always lies to us, so we do the opposite of what we see. So if I see a +6 here, we're going to end up subtracting 6 from my x's. All right, so I'm going to do what I did last time. I'm going to cover up the numbers I'm not using to make this easier for me. And what I'm going to do is take each of these x values and subtract 6. So -4 minus 6 is -10. -3 minus 6 is -9. Use your calculator if you need to. -2 minus 6 is -8. -1 minus 6 is -7. 0 minus 6 is -6. 1 minus 6 is -5. 2 minus 6 is -4. 3 minus 6 is -3. And 4 minus 6 is -2. On our y column, we're going to subtract 5. So I'm going to cover up the x's so that I don't accidentally use those. And I find this easier if I use a calculator. zoom out a little, that'll be easier. Okay, so I'm going to try using a calculator to help me with these. So I'm going to take all of my y values and I'm going to subtract 5. So I'm going to start at the top and I'm going to do 81 take away 5, which is 76. And then 27 take away 5, which is 22. 9 take away 5 is 4. 3 take away 5 is negative 2. 1 take away 5 is negative 4. And then this is where I really need my calculator. 1 divided by 3, that's how we punch in 1/3, minus 5 is negative 4.66666. So I'm just going to round that to 2 decimal places, so negative 4.67. Then 1 divided by 9 plus, oh, nope, minus 5 is negative 4.888, so negative 4.89. And then 1 divided by 27, take away 5, is negative 4.962, so that's going to be 96. And then 1 divided by 81 minus 5 is negative 4.987, so that's going to be 99. Okay, so now all we need to do is just plot our points. So I'm going to take my base function, I'm going to take those set of values and plot them on my graph. So I'm going to zoom out so that you can do that together. So I like to start with the whole numbers and then deal with the fractions at the end. So negative 4 and 81 is not going to fit. My graph really only goes to about 26, so it's not going to fit. Now 27 would not fit, but it is the line just above my grid, right? Because my numbers would go all the way up to 26, so I could probably find one square past that. So at negative 3, and then I'm going to go one square above would be my 27. So check that off. Negative 2 and 9, that definitely will fit. Negative 1 and 3, 0 and 1, all of them seem to have gone through that point so far. 1 and 1/3. So 1/2 was pretty easy because to do 1/2, all I had to do was just go halfway. This time I have to do about 1/3 of the way. It's a little bit trickier. And then 1/9 is pretty much impossible. And 1/27. At this point, really, we're just putting the dot barely above the line. Okay, same thing with the 1/81. And then I'm going to fill in the side that looks kind of like a parabola to me. Put an arrow on the end of that. And then I do the side I like to call the tail, which is where it's leveling off at the asymptote. How do I know that it's leveling off at the asymptote there? You'll notice that it's getting closer and closer and closer and closer to 4. That's how I know that's where the asymptote is. Oh, that's the wrong graph. So here you'll see that I've got the fractions. They're getting smaller and smaller and smaller fractions. That's how I know where the asymptote is. But when we do this one, that's how I'll know as well that it's leveling off here. Okay, so let's do the second one. I've got negative 10 and 76. 76 does not fit on my graph. Negative 9 and 22 will, though. So negative 9 and 22. Here's 20, 22. And then I've got 8, negative 8 and 4. It's a big drop. Negative 7 and negative 2. Negative 6 and negative 4. Negative 5 and 4.67. So 4.67 is going to be just above the 5 line, just past the 4.5 mark. So there's a 4.5. It's going to be a little bit lower than 4.5, a little bit closer to 5. And then negative 4.89 is just a little bit closer to 5. And 4.96 is a little bit closer to 5. And 4.99 is getting just about as close to 5 as you can get. So I'm going to draw on my parabola-ish side. Oops. I'll do a very good job of that. It's kind of wiggly. And then here I see that it's definitely leveling off at -5. And there we go. So your job at this point is to complete the check your understanding part on your own, and then we will take that up at the start of class. Good luck.